30. Now, the latest ITV News in the Anglia region.
Good evening, welcome to ITV News Anglia.
Tonight's main stories.
A new dawn in aviation history. The world's first certified electric plane takes to the skies in Norfolk.
You have to learn to fly in small aircraft. Now, there are a lot more of those around than regional aircraft. Decarbonise that space while you can. There's a revolution just around the corner.
Also tonight, as the Chancellor promises to boost growth and cut taxes, we'll be getting reaction to his crucial autumn statement.
Plus, the huge rise in the number of pets being abandoned in the east, as the RSPCA warns it's facing a winter crisis.
Right arm forwards this time.
And the personal trainer providing free online exercise classes for cancer patients after being treated for breast cancer herself.
Hello from David and me. Welcome to the programme.
First tonight, the world first taking to the skies at Norwich Airport. Across the globe in recent years, a new kind of space race has been taking place, the race to develop electric aircraft.
The benefits are obvious, cutting out the carbon emissions which are so damaging to our environment. But there are also lots of challenges.
Well, the first electric plane to be certified by the authorities as safe to fly passengers is now operating.
That all sounds rather exciting. Rob, which one is it?
Well, there are various curiosities here in the hangar of Saxon Air at Norwich Airport. But the one that's got everybody excited here today is this one. It's the Pipistrel Valise Electro. As you say, the world's first certified electric plane. This is one of 10 in the UK. It's got 2 seats and it's got 2 batteries, one in the nose and one just behind the cabin here. They mean that this can fly on a charge for around about 50 minutes. So it's small, but it could be a small piece of history and significant for the very future of flying. As dusk starts to descend on Norwich Airport, a new dawn for eco-friendly aviation. At least that's what the experts are calling it. The world's first electric plane certified to carry passengers.
The technology keeps cascading. There's a revolution just around the corner. This on its own is not going to save the world, but what it will do is it's a step in the right direction. And I think from a perspective where people don't like local airfields because of the noise, you think about it's a community asset then, because actually it's got a charging infrastructure which you can use on a wider off-grid basis, and it's not a noise pollutant. And I think those in itself will attract people to it.
Saxon Air's using its new toy to launch electrifying experience days. Pleasure flights from Norwich. The firm's leasing the plane from distributor Nebo Air, based between Beccles and Bungay. Kerry is one of the directors. She says electric aircraft could be game changers for the environment, particularly when it comes to training pilots.
Every pilot that learns to fly in the UK is putting between 2.5 and 5.5 tonne of CO2 into the atmosphere. You can do predominantly your PPL, private pilot's licence, on this aircraft, and it's emission-free.
Jason has been a pilot for 45 years. He's flown over 100 different aircraft. This, he says, is exciting and different.
You have to be able to manage the energy of the aircraft a lot more so than you would with a conventional sort of petrol or diesel-driven engine, because you're reliant on the electric motor. So you're constantly trying to reserve that power. Typically, you've got roughly 45 minutes endurance, a safe endurance, with a reservation time sort of built in there as well on top of that.
There is a long way to go before electric commercial flights really take off, not least when it comes to charging points and the balance between battery power and weight. But those here say the technology is improving all the time. The safety record is exemplary, and both in the air and on the ground, There's a lot to be excited about.
Yes, I'm flying it.
Rob Setchell, ITV News at Norwich Airport.
Pilots of the future. Next tonight, as the government tries to woo voters ahead of next year's general election, the Chancellor promised in today's autumn statement that he'll turbocharge economic growth.
He's pledged to cut national insurance, boost the minimum wage and ease business rates. But opposition parties say the Tories are simply cutting back the crippling increases they introduced in the first place.
Right, well, let's go to Westminster and our political correspondent, Katie Oscroft. Good evening, Katie. So what does all this mean for people in our region?
Well, David, on the face of it, we've got tax cuts, benefit increases, rises in pensions. The Chancellor was all smiles as he left Downing Street this morning, about to tell us that his government has guided the country through the hard yards and now we're about to reap the benefits.
Our choice is not big government, high spending and high tax, because we know that leads to less growth, not more. Instead, we reduce debt, cut taxes and reward work.
Well, I'm joined now by Jerome Mayhew, who's the Conservative MP for Brawland and Fakenham, and by Daniel Zeichman, who's the Labour MP for Cambridge. Jerome, first of all, isn't it the case that your government's been responsible for taxes being up there in the first place, people in your constituency finding it hard, and this is just chipping away at the damage?
Well, the biggest news we've got is that inflation has more than halved. That was the big news from last week, and that's allowed us to take steps now to reduce taxation which did have to rise because of the costs of COVID. So I don't apologise for that. It's unnecessary. We supported people when they really needed it during COVID. It had to be paid for. But because we've grown the economy and we've got down on inflation, the government now has the headroom to start helping people again.
OK, well, Daniel, the Chancellor said he's got 110 measures to boost growth. You must agree with some of those?
Well, he needs them to undo the damage that the previous Conservative Chancellor and Prime Minister did. And of course, so many people are going to be finding as their mortgage repayments will be going up when they have to renew their mortgages. So the real problem here is people feeling it's really hard, prices still going up. So frankly, there's a long way to go.
Well, Jerome, what about at the other end of the scale, benefits? If you're not actively looking for work, you could lose your benefits. That's harsh, isn't it? That vulnerable people could be at risk here.
There's two sides to this as well. It's a balance. £2.5 billion more help to get people trained, so giving them extra help, one-on-one work coaches, which has worked. I've seen it working in my constituency in Fakenham at the Job Centre. That really helps. But if you don't play ball, if you haven't engaged for 18 months, and then, yeah, there should be consequences. So I think the taxpayer deserves their share as well, which is we're prepared to support you as a safety net, but if you don't play ball and you're given time and time again a chance to do so, then there should be a consequence.
Daniel, are you concerned about some of your vulnerable constituents?
Well, I'm concerned there are so many people off sick, 2.7 million people who could be working. That's because the NHS waiting lists are so long. So the way to get this resolved is to get the NHS working, and that's, I'm afraid, where the Conservatives have again completely failed. That's the way to grow the economy, get people well.
Well, thank you both of us for joining us tonight. No doubt people will be poring over the detail of this. Am I better off? They'll be doing their calculations. Some of them will no doubt be doing those in the pub as well, as alcohol duty is frozen until August next year.
Yeah, there's lots to go over, isn't there? Katie, thanks ever so much.
In other news, body cam footage has revealed the moment police caught a man in Cambridge who was carrying a 10-inch hunting knife. 21-year-old Tyreek Rod was chased and arrested early this month when he was spotted with a knife. He was sentenced to 6 months in prison after previously pleading guilty to possession of a knife in a public place.
An Essex school, which had to close after thieves stole tens of thousands of pounds worth of power cables, has reopened to pupils today. Police are investigating the theft at temporary classrooms at Sir Frederick Gibbard College in Harlow. Teaching had already been disrupted at the start of the term when structural concerns were raised about the building.
Archaeologists have uncovered the remains of a 1,400-year-old temple on farmland near Sutton Hoo in Suffolk. The discovery was made over the summer near the village of Rendlesham. Last year, the remains of a large timber royal hall were found there, confirming it as a former royal settlement.
Wow. Right, next, the RSPCA says the number of animals being abandoned has soared to a shocking 3-year high and that unwanted pets are facing a bleak winter.
Charity has released figures for the East which show Essex is on course to see a 51% increase in the number of pets being dumped compared to 2020. In Suffolk, the figure is expected to rise by nearly 15%, and in Norfolk, more than 6%.
Well, Stuart Lees joins us live from one of the charity's rehoming centres near King's Lynn. Good evening, Stuart. These are really worrying figures, aren't they?
Yes, I can tell you that here at this centre at Tilney All Saints near King's Lynn alone, there are 34 dogs, including 8 puppies, 10 kittens and 19 adult cats, 2 rats, 1 guinea pig and 4 rabbits. And they're all part of those figures for abandoned pets that the RSPCA say has reached a shocking 3-year high. And I can speak to Carl, who is the branch manager here, and he's here with Angus, the retriever puppy. Carl, just tell me why you think those numbers of abandoned pets are increasing so much.
There's no doubt about it now. The current crisis that we're going through and all of the rescue centres are going through is the financial crisis. It is a result, pure and simple, of that. Vet bills are expensive. They've gone up dramatically in the last 2 or 3 years since COVID, and even the simplest of procedures now can be very, very costly. When people are spending £200 or £300 a month on their electricity bill, a dog or a cat can be a luxury that they can't afford anymore.
And so really, at this time, as we approach Christmas, what would your message be to someone who is thinking of getting a new pet?
Think very carefully about what pet is going to suit you, what pet is going to suit your home and your lifestyle. But please, please, don't buy from a pet shop. Don't buy from a breeder. There are so many rescue centres like ours in West Norfolk that are full to bursting, and the backup that you will get from us is second to none. We are always here for your pet. If you rehome a pet from us, we will be here in 10 weeks or 10 years from now, and we will always be here to support you.
Carl, thank you very much. So it's a message that we seem to hear year after year, but abandoned pets are still arriving at centres like this in increasing numbers. Angus, though, he's one of the lucky ones. He's going to be off to his new home soon with his sister Elsie.
Oh, how gorgeous. That is one.
Thank you, Stuart. I'm not surprised that Angus has got home.
Going very quickly. Stuart, thank you very much. I think, to be fair, we've kind of put the cute fact up to 11 tonight on the programme.
I'm just a little bit in love. I mean, that is the cutest puppy.
Oh, right on cue. Right on cue. Every time Angus gives us a little yawn. It's past his bedtime.
Adorable.
He's worn out. Fantastic.
Right, the time is coming up to 13 minutes past 6. You're watching ITV News in the Anglia region. Still to come.
Join me for a picture-perfect display.
And weather-wise, high pressure keeping things fairly settled, but not always sunny. Quite a lot of cloud around for Thursday. Hopefully the odd bright spell. I'll tell you all about it later on in the programme.
Right, before all that, how do you like your eggs? Well, apparently the vast majority of us choose free-range British Lion eggs in our weekly shop.
But UK egg production has been suffering, in part due to the bird flu outbreak. And now it seems that low welfare eggs are flooding into our supermarkets from abroad.
Yet eggs from other countries don't always meet the same high safety standards that exist here in the UK and could carry a higher risk of salmonella. And Birdie has more.
At Adam's Happy Hens, chickens, goats and rheas all roam side by side out on the farm. Owner Adam insists that's why his customers love the free-range eggs he produces. But recently, he feels farmers like him are being undermined by eggs imported from abroad.
It's natural for a hen to go outside, forage, pick up grubs, pick up worms and etc. out of the ground. It's great for them. We believe that's what makes the eggs taste great. The problem is with the imported eggs is many farmers have to adhere to farm assurance, red tractor standards, and they have to comply with all these rules and regulations, these high animal welfare standards. But yet, when they buy them in from abroad, they're not necessarily farm assured. The welfare standards probably aren't as good, and I think it's quite annoying for the British farmer.
According to official data from the Animal and Plant Health Agency, the number of eggs imported from Poland rose by more than 2,000% between 2021 and August 2023. And the number imported from Italy also increased by almost 300% over the last year. The drastic increase in foreign eggs has become a cause for concern for public health experts like Dr. Alex Woodacre from the University of Northampton.
The UK has a zero tolerance policy to salmonella, so no chickens have salmonella in their flock, whereas in other countries it may be higher, but there are still controls in place, but they're not quite as stringent as they are here in the UK. And chickens that are at lower welfare, if the health of the chicken is not as optimal, it makes them more susceptible to contracting salmonella disease themselves.
In the UK, most eggs are marked with the British Lion stamp, which reflects high standards of safety. But recent events now mean demand is outstripping supply.
We saw a big outbreak of avian influenza last year, which had a very detrimental effect on the laying sector. We've also seen huge challenges with the war in Ukraine on cost of production. So our national laying flock is smaller than it was, which means that we are importing eggs and liquid egg product to replace what was lost previously.
The Department for Food, Environment and Rural Affairs told us around 90% of the eggs consumed in this country are home produced, and that they are also launching a review to promote fairness and transparency across the egg supply chain. But even with pressure on UK egg production increasing, for farmers like Adam, it's the happiness of his hens that remains highest in the pecking order. Amrit Birdie, ITV News.
Now, the rapid rise of artificial intelligence has proved controversial, with concerns that as the technology gets more sophisticated, it could pose risks if it's not properly controlled.
Well, Cambridge has recently been named as the most AI-ready city in the country. And now the city's university has set up a new centre for artificial intelligence, which will focus on the potential benefits to human society.
Well, Dr. Stephen Cave is the director of the new Institute for Technology and Humanity. Could you just tell us, first of all, Dr. Cave, what are you hoping to achieve there?
Well, we've brought together a group of people, not just engineers and computer scientists and biologists and people who understand the technology, but also philosophers and social scientists and historians who can think about the impact of this technology. And what we want is to start providing a kind of evidence base for policymakers and other decision makers about how we can really maximise the opportunities and at the same time manage the risks of this incredible technological transformation that we're living through.
You mentioned the risks there. How concerned should people be about AI?
I think we should be very concerned, but not necessarily for the reasons people first think of. I mean, I'm a huge fan of science fiction, but I don't think Arnold Schwarzenegger-like robots knocking the door down are the main risks. I think AI is going to have huge consequences for our economy, for our political systems. Think of, the spread of disinformation, for all of our lives. And that brings with it risks that are actually really hard to predict. I mean, if we think about the Industrial Revolution that, has brought so much prosperity, created the modern world, but also the kind of disruptions that it caused gave rise to communism and fascism, civil wars, world wars, and so on. So it's these kind of cascading consequences of rapid technological transformation that we need to try to prepare for.
So if the development of AI continues at this pace, what could the future look like? What are the potential benefits?
Well, I'm happy to say there are hundreds of thousands of people around the world coming up with great uses for AI, from making, watering of crops more efficient in drought situations, through to better diagnosis, through to better drug discovery, through to, better entertainment, better recommendations on your favorite streaming platform. It really is a general purpose technology that's going to transform so many areas of life for the better. I mean, generally speaking, I am an optimist. I think we will all lead more prosperous, happier and healthier lives because of AI and other technologies, as long as we think very carefully about how we manage the risks.
Oh, it's really, really interesting. Dr. Stephen Cave, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
OK, quick bit of sport for you now. And Colchester United are safely through to the knockout stages of this season's EFL Trophy after beating a young Peterborough side last night. The only goal of the game came courtesy of Bradley Ironvine, who made no mistake after Posh keeper Finn Talley spilled the ball in the penalty box. Both Colchester and Posh are now in the last 32.
Well, now to the personal trainer from Norwich with a passion for boxing who fought cancer and won.
And Shell Kime was diagnosed with breast cancer. She used fitness to help cope with the condition. Now recovered, Shell has joined forces with the charity Mission Remission to give other cancer patients free online exercise classes, as Andy Ward reports.
Right arm forwards this time.
As a fitness fanatic, exercise has always been a healer for personal trainer Shell. A source of solace in the darkest of times, not least when her world was turned upside down after finding a lump.
On New Year's Eve 21, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I had a month build up to getting the results, and that month was, the anxiety levels were like I've never known in my life before. And I think when you hear the words, it's kind of like it's slow motion, but it's the words that no one ever wants to hear and the club that no one wants to be a part of.
So how are you all feeling this morning?
Thankfully, it's a club Shell is no longer a part of. She's now in remission, but her mission to help others has only just begun. She now streams these free online workouts from this studio at the bottom of her garden. Her sessions allowing those recovering from cancer to get moving again, improving not just physical, but mental health as well.
It's just brilliant. I've had like the worst experience of my life, which has now turned into this huge positive of me working with a charity that's really close to my heart, and I'm helping people feel better and get moving again and get some confidence again after probably the worst journey of their lives.
Hi Janine, how you doing?
I'm all right, thank you.
A journey Janine knows only too well. She had to have a mastectomy after her own diagnosis, and the intense chemotherapy left her with nerve damage in her leg. But thanks to Shell's classes, she's now rebuilding her confidence as part of a community who know exactly what she's going through.
I could have died at the end of the day, do you know what I mean? And it's nice to know that you're not alone. You feel like you're doing it with other people, even though they're not there. And that's quite a nice feeling. But you also know that they're not watching you and laughing at you because you're getting it wrong.
And having won the biggest fight of her life, Shell is now hoping the magic of movement can help others win theirs as well. Andy Ward, ITV News, Norwich.
That's such a good idea, because you might not know what type of exercises you should be doing, or, you know, recovering from something like that.
Yeah, but obviously Shell's been through it and she knows what the kind of things you can do, which is brilliant. What a fantastic thing she's doing.
The ITV Evening News is at 6:30. Here are the headlines with Mary.
Coming up on the programme, cuts to taxes and a rise in the minimum wage. We have the latest on the Chancellor's autumn statement. Jeremy Hunt says his plan for the economy is working, but the work is not yet done, as he unveiled 110 new measures. We'll be taking your questions on what the autumn statement really means for you. Also on the programme tonight, Scotland's only oil refinery is set for closure, leaving hundreds of jobs at risk. And how having a pet benefits our mental health as we age. Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
More dogs on the programme, but more later on as well. I think it benefits everyone, doesn't it, with mental health as well. Now, look, if the thought of the winter nights drawing in sounds gloomy, it certainly does to me. Sorry, Victor, I'll be fed up with that. Then this may be for you and for me. The dark evenings bring with them an opportunity to see one of the region's gardens in, well, a new light, literally.
I think we'll feel all Christmassy after this. Hyde Hall near Chelmsford has been decked out with hundreds of coloured lights to create a spectacular walk. And we sent our reporter Russell Hookey to find out what visitors can expect to see.
Well, welcome along to Hyde Hall near Chelmsford. I suspect if you've been here before, it's during the summer months to see the flowers and plants. But at this time of year, it takes on an entirely different atmosphere because this is Hyde Glow, where they illuminate the gardens, and they do so with thousands of lights, 11 miles of cables, and it really is a magical environment, especially if you're young I'm here with camera operator Hayley. Let's just say she's young at heart. And she said she felt like Alice in Wonderland when she arrived earlier. She said it's the kind of place you'd expect to find a fairy or two. Well, it's all put on by the Royal Horticultural Society, and with me from the RHS is Ian Bull. Ian, what did you set out to create here?
Well, as you say, people often think of a garden as being at its best in the summer, and we wanted to celebrate gardens in winter. They offer something very different, the skeletal outline of plants. So there are about 2,500 light bulbs running through this glow event, so really trying to uplight some of the trees, highlight some of the shrubs, and create and add in lots of exciting and new and dynamic features in the garden that are really going to capture your imagination if you come to the garden after dark. So while you may have been to Hyde Hall before in the day, it'll feel totally different after dark. It has that real magical feel about it when you see everything lit.
And you've been doing it for the last few years. It's quite a popular event, isn't it?
It is a popular event. This is now our 4th year. It's sold out on a number of occasions, which obviously we're really pleased about. And I think, yeah, it just captures people's imagination, something that little bit different. So some of the natural beauty of the garden that you can see, but also some interesting lighting features through the garden, like the carpet of colour that has 700 changing light colours running through it.
Well, I can vouch for the fact it does look truly amazing. Thank you for that, Ian. This is a sneak preview this evening, though we aren't entirely on our own because they've opened up the gardens for staff and their families tonight. The official opening, though, is tomorrow, and you can go online and get tickets. The event continues until the end of the year.
Oh, it's just beautiful, isn't it?
I think Russell's been a bit over cheeky tonight.
Not
going to be very popular with our camera operator, Hayley. Young at heart, you're still young, Hayley, still young, and it's fabulous. Now, you might be forgiven for thinking there's something of a pet theme on the programme this evening. But do you remember last month we told you about a number of puppies found abandoned on a roadside at Littleport in Cambridgeshire?
Well, after their ordeal, we are pleased to say they are doing really well and enjoying their new homes.
Yeah, well, this is puppy Greta with her new owner Claire in Burwell. She has left her details. That's what she did with Wood Green Pets Charity after their family dog died. And when Claire heard what had happened to the puppies, she agreed to have one straight away.
It's just been over 2 weeks and I think she's settling in really well. But she does literally chew everything. There's paper and cardboard everywhere and you've got to have eyes in the back of your head. And she likes cuddles, which is nice. But she also likes playing, and I've got 2 children that really enjoy playing with her.
Gorgeous.
Absolutely fantastic. You know, earlier in the programme, I can't believe this. This is brilliant.
I can actually believe it.
Well, I can believe it because you're wonderful. The RSPCA Centre, where Stuart was, they had 3 phone calls.
I know.
Since we came on air. It's the power of our programme.
It's the power of Angus, that beautiful
exactly. Gorgeous
puppy.
Angus. Well, the poster dog. And thank you very much for picking up the phone and seeing what you can do to help. Fantastic.
Now, weather time now, and we had a beautiful sunrise this morning at Pakefield near Lowestoft. These pictures were sent in from Karen Collis. Thank you very much. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous?
Look how many colours are there.
We have got some chilly weather finally on the way, I think. James has got all the details.
Greater Anglia sponsors ITV Anglia Weather.
Hello there, good evening. A lot of places seeing a lot of cloud today, 1 or 2 just holding on to a touch of brightness. The settled weather is courtesy of this high pressure. There's quite a lot of cloud drifting around it. Eventually, the high will move into a position where we start drawing in some rather chilly air from the north, and with it a couple of showers. So tomorrow is going to be the last of the properly mild days. Like I say, a lot of cloud around. We will see some breaks overnight, but holding on to enough cloud to stop the temperatures falling too far. A little bit of extra breeze too. Quite happy with those temperatures by day, really, with lows of around 8 or 9 Celsius. Tomorrow then, lots of cloud to start the day. That breeze actually helping to turn over the cloud a touch. So we will see a few more brighter breaks through the day. Might even see some proper sunshine in places. It's a sign of what's to come later on, because there is a break in the cloud before a front moves down across us later on tomorrow night. So temperatures tomorrow, 12, maybe 13 Celsius. The breeze, though, it does sort of cancel out those gains, so you probably feel just as fresh as today. Like I say, tomorrow night we get a front moving through, little bit of splash of rain there. That moves away for Friday, automatically opens up the gateway to much colder air. It's looking at highs of 6 Celsius, and notice the isobars, a little bit of a breeze out there, so it's going to make it feel chillier still, more like 3 to 6 Celsius. Few showers possible too. I don't think they'll be wintry, and then what we get on Saturday is a bit of a frosty start before more in the way of chilly and slightly showery weather.
Greater Anglia sponsors ITV Anglia Weather.
I was waiting to see if it's going to be sunny at the weekend because we've had so much rain on
let's
Saturdays.
not speak too soon, because every week it's been a break in the weather and we get rain at the weekend and clear in the week. Hopefully this weekend.
Fingers crossed. Who knows?
Who knows?
Have a lovely evening.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Tax cuts and pension increases. An eye-catching autumn statement from an upbeat Chancellor.
I'm going to go further and cut the main rate of employee national insurance by 2 percentage points from 12% to 10%.
Jeremy Hunt billed it as a growth booster. National insurance down, giveaways for business and more cash for pensioners and those on benefit. But Labour say it is too little, too late.
Does anything in Britain work better today than when the Conservatives came into office 13 years ago?
Well, there was some grit among the giveaways, including a clampdown on the long-term unemployed. And with the burden of tax already at a 70-year high, how much better off will most of us really feel? Also